Hello, world. Welcome to Viva la Renaissance, episode 9. And this is the third installment in the mini-series on the Los Angeles puppet people. And I last night got to attend the LA Guild of Puppetry's Puppet Slam called Puppetzilla. And it was a really fantastic show at this super cool, old school it was like one of those old fraternal clubs that used to be around back in the day. This one was English, and it kind of feels like a cross between a church and like a members only bar or something. But it's called the Mayflower Club, and the show was fantastic. I was just in awe and laughing a ton. And one of my favorite things that I saw last night was by a puppeteer named Eli Presser, which you can find him on Instagram and check out what he does. It was a Halloween show, so this was a really spooky, creepy Boone Raku style of puppetry where all the puppeteers are dressed in all black and then they manipulate the puppets that way. And their black look had like the creepiest mask ever, kind of like super creepy eyes wide shut vibes. And there was this large shallow rectangular box of dirt on stage with really, really dramatic lighting, and they brought this doll to life. He had this like sweet little boy doll face, and the eyes moved, and then he was attached to this oversized like soft body, and he didn't have any hands and feet. He just had these like stumps that were like wrapped up, and he came to life out of the dirt, and then he like wandered over to the other side and dug up a little girl doll and held her in his little stump arms, and it was just this heart-aching, strange, beautiful, ephemeral story. It was so amazing. I really loved it. So check out Eli Presser if you can. Yeah, I really just had such a great time at the show. And I got to see our guest there, who was indeed stage managing, and she is the president of the LA Puppet Guild. So it was nice to see her in action there. And let's see, what else is going on? I'm about halfway through the Cabaret Act Development course, which I've been teaching. And this is a really big project for me because I've never tried to teach remotely before. And I have so much insight and experience that I'm trying to like really distill down into 6 weeks and to help people come up with new acts. And so in order to demonstrate what I'm teaching, I've been also creating an act alongside the class, kind of to document the process as it goes. And it has just been a very interesting journey. I've been learning all kinds of things about my process and just how things come together. It's been really satisfying. And so, I noticed that my students are struggling a little bit with videotaping themselves so much, and they're very self-conscious about sending it in. And I really get it. I have the benefit of knowing how my creative process works really well. And I really, really trust the process. And I know if I just show up and do the work, that something good is going to come as a result of it. So, I mean, with act development, it's definitely the case that showing up is half the battle. And so I've just been trying to do that for myself. And one of the first early lessons that we did with the students was to do we do a lot of time lapse videos and kind of look at those. And so I asked them to do a 10-minute improvisation using a household object as a prop. And I chose a chair for mine. And so then I went along and I was like starting to pick pieces of music for different act ideas. And I thought that I would keep with the chair. I was finding some new interesting shapes to make with it. So I found music, and I decided to do something to Where Is My Mind by the Pixies, which is, it's not a super happy song. It's kind of intense. And so then I videotaped myself again with the chair and to that music. And so then I started to think about what kind of character this could be. Like, who is this person? What is she doing there? Like, what's her story? And as I was watching it, she seemed, me watching myself, the first thing that just popped into my mind, I was like, well, obviously she's processing her divorce. And I was like, oh, wait, that's like that's what I've been doing the last 4 years, I guess, since mine. And I was like, okay, if that's what's coming up, I guess we're just gonna lean into it and go for it. So I started just thinking more about this person, and like I started to think of the chair as giving her different ways of looking at her situation, and it just seemed like she was really searching in the dark for something, like maybe trying to really find herself again. And it was just so funny. I mean, believe me, I'm not at all interested in onstage therapy about my divorce, but things do come up that are real sometimes, and it's just there. So I'm just going for it. But I thought about like what I didn't want to do, which is to be sitting there in a wedding dress, and I didn't want it to be sad either. I wanted it to kind of have a happy ending. So I started thinking of things, that could represent, to me, my ex, and I thought of a top hat. And I figured I'd wear one in the act too, kind of do a classic punk cabaret sort of look, and loosely based on a tuxedo, maybe was my first idea. And as soon as I had that idea, I remembered this puppet that I'd gotten at a yard sale recently. And it was a tourist marionette from Hungary that I got for $5. And it was wearing a little tuxedo jacket. And so I modified his little suit and just started making him changing his look a little bit to suit my purpose better. And then I had this idea of using a long skirt as a puppet stage and kind of cinching it up like an Austrian curtain to do a little puppet show between my legs. So that's the act I've been working on the last few weeks. And yeah, it's just been a real interesting one because every act is different and inspiration can come from anywhere. So some acts you really have to wrestle with, and some just flow right out. And some of them are more demanding physically, like if I want to learn a new acrobatic trick or, put something more technical in there. Sometimes you have to do all kinds of like rigging effects and costumes and all kinds of stuff. And I actually banged myself up quite a bit falling out of a new trick I was trying today. And that element of risk taking is, just part of the deal. Sometimes it just hurts. I like the idea of doing a really deeply personal act, but one in which the audience probably won't even know what it's about at all. I'm really enjoying that. I don't think that the story is going to be that obvious to anyone. And I like that, kind of having layers of meaning that are special to me. It's kind of like my little secret. Don't tell anyone. But yeah, it's been a really great process so far, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to perform a kind of workshop version of the act at a Halloween party that I'm having this week. So I will let you know how that goes. You can also follow along on Instagram. I'll be posting photos about this process and my experience making this act on my Trixie Little page. You can check it out there. Now, our interview today is with the current president of the Los Angeles Guild of Puppetry, Rachel Burson. And I just wanted to read a little thing from Wikipedia here about guilds. It says they are an association of artisans or merchants who oversee the practice of their craft or trade in a particular area. They were organized in a manner something between a professional association, a trade union, a cartel, and a secret society. Ooh. Guilds have been around since Roman times through medieval period and even the Renaissance. And there were like stages to them. You would start as an apprentice and then move up to a journeyman level and then to becoming a master. And modern unions are like the legacy of guilds from the past. But the LA Guild of Puppetry is really more of a community resource than a union. But I love this idea of a guild as an active channel to pass down knowledge within a field. And so we get into that a little bit in this interview. And I just really had a great time talking to Rachel. Her enthusiasm and exuberance for what she's doing and just her excitement about it is really infectious. So I hope you feel the same. Please enjoy today's interview with Rachel Burson. Hello, world. I am sitting here in the studio of Rachel Burson, who is the president of the LA Guild of Puppetry, and I'm so excited to be here. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Can you just introduce yourself and the Guild to the listeners?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Rachel Burson. As you said, I'm the president. The Los Angeles Guild of Puppetry has been around for over 60 years. We're like one of the oldest guilds around, and we have been doing the thing for a long time. We bring puppetry to the community, and we bring puppetry to our members. We are for builders, puppeteers, enthusiasts. If you like puppets at all, we're here for you. We try to do workshops, we do events, we do like mix and mingles, we do a puppet slams, we do everything puppet that can get anybody excited about our world and draw them into what we do, because we love it so much. It's what a way to spread the good word of puppetry. So we try to bring that to Los Angeles and help Los Angeles also bring it to us, because it's been growing and exploding these past few years.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. And so me personally, I'm a puppet builder by trade. So I build, I'm also a puppet wrangler, so I work more in that sort of sphere on the behind the scenes side. I'm not so much, I like puppeteering, but I'm not so much that, so.
Wait, can you describe the difference between wrangler and puppeteer?
Yes. So a puppeteer, is the person controlling the puppet, bringing it to life, acting. A puppet wrangler is an active on-set member, and it's your job to get the puppet ready for filming. So you make sure it's in the right wardrobe, you make sure the hairstyle's right, you make sure that all the seams are plucked, you make sure that the rods are rigged properly, you make sure that if there is a rig, that the rig is completed. So there's a lot of on-the-fly work of like cutting open an arm and putting in this like rod, and then cutting over the back of the head so they can get in, and like getting people in blue or green suits and running all over the place. So it's on-the-fly solutions, and it's really sad, because I worked in production in film and TV for like 5 years. Oh, yeah. I have a degree in stage management, so like it's a very puppet wrangling is very satisfying, because it mixes building but also a ton of like organization and improvised thought, and also just going back to like the basics of how to rod a puppet and what ways work best for what shot. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot.
That's great. Yeah, it's like the wardrobe department for the.
Basically, yeah. You're like the onset. You're like the talent.
And engineer.
Yeah, exactly. You take care of the talent on stage, gotcha. Which is always a diva puppet of some sort.
So to go back to the guild for a moment, does it work like a traditional guild where there's like an apprentice level, a journey man or woman level, and a master level, or how official is the guild set up?
The guild's official in a way with like through tradition of how long it's been around. We don't so much do like apprenticeship programs. We're more of like a social community outreach group that goes under the name of a guild. Mm-hmm. So like we're not really a nonprofit or anything like that, but we're just a community-based organization to bring everybody together. So the way that the apprenticeship and all that kind of thing could work is that we have many veteran puppet people in our community, and so it's a great place for younger folks or people who are getting into it to come, because there are people there with vast, unending knowledge that they are more than happy to tell you about. So it's the passing down of knowledge is really what we're able to do. There's a puppeteer called Philip Huber, who's an amazing puppet marionettist, amazing, and he always says that people with puppetry stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's very much what the guild strives for, is that we have these people who have been doing this for decades, longer than a lot of us have been alive. Mm-hmm. And we have them at our disposal to offer up to each other and to share these stories and to share the knowledge that they have. And it's just an unending cycle of information and like passion and excitement. Yeah. So it's kind of what we offer.
I love that. I mean, it's really great that you keep kind of like active conversation going with some of the older generations. It's a lot of other art forms could learn from that, for sure. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into puppetry in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. I didn't have the moment I was born, I'm going to do puppets. I rediscovered puppetry when I graduated college. So I got a BFA in stage management. From Northern Kentucky University. My mom's an accountant there. Hi, Mom. So I went through that program and it was great, but it was great because my professor we were a small program, and my professor said, do you want to be good? And I said, well, yeah, I want to be good. And he was like, great, then you have to leave. So I interned out immediately. Like, as soon as I got there, I was trying to get jobs at real theaters, because collegiate theater versus professional theater are two completely different worlds. So I went out there. So when I graduated college, I got a 10-month internship. Well, before that even, I got an internship at Cirque du Soleil. That was what all my work led me to. So my first reintroduction was I interned at the show Caw in Vegas. So I was there for 3 months, and they had these puppets built by Michael Curry that are amazing. They have like a turtle, a starfish, a centipede. And you're just like, oh yeah, like these are a viable thing. So then I went to an internship in Sacramento for 10 months. And we did a kids show, and we were at Children's Theater, it's the B Street Theater, and we rented some shows for a kids show, or rented puppets. We didn't rent children, we rented puppets. So sorry. We rented puppets for a children's show, and we got the puppets, and they worked like okay. Yeah. They worked okay. And like I'd always drawn in high school, but there's never like a 3D art option, and all my friends could draw better than I could. So I was like, oh, well, maybe art's not for me. So that's why I went to stage management. But then I was looking at these puppets, and I was like, I could do this. I could do a better job. So I like went online and found this book called The Foam Book, which is a great starter book for people who want to build like the more like mouth and hand rod puppet, like Muppet style. It's a great baseline book. I bought that for $40, and then I sat on it for like a year because I was too scared to do anything with it. And then I was done with my internship. I was home in Cincinnati again. I was completely unemployed. And I was like, well, if I'm going to build this puppet, I think now's the time. So I built a puppet for an anime convention that was coming up. And I built this thing. It was 4 feet tall. I covered it. It didn't work, but it looked great. And so I took it, and everyone was so crazy about it. It was like it was a Legend of Zelda character. Everybody was like, this is so cool. Where did you buy that? Whoa, what a cool doll. And I'm like, no, it's a puppet. It's not a doll. But
wait, why didn't it work?
It didn't work because I used all the wrong fabric, and I didn't understand how to shape mouths. And so I could put my hand in, I put my hand in the back of the head of it because the character had a tiny neck. And so I was supporting the weight of this 4-foot puppet on my wrist. I wore an arm brace because I didn't know what to do, but I was so proud of it that I was like, I'm wearing this for 3 days straight. There's no getting around it. So I did. And it hurt so bad, but it was so worth it. And the feedback was so good that I was like, oh, maybe I have a knack for this. So then I kept building, and now, 4.5 years later, I do it professionally in Los Angeles.
Crazy.
I mean, that seems like a really fast turnaround.
Yeah.
So yeah, connect the dots for us.
Right. So I started building back in Cincinnati before I moved to LA, and I was also working in film and TV production because it was building and it was growing in Cincinnati, and I knew the people who were doing it, so I jumped on that wagon. So I was doing more film and TV production, and I was doing more building, and then I kind of realized that there wasn't enough of either in Cincinnati. There's a really great puppet company called Madcap, but it cycles through. It takes time to get work there. So I was like, well, there's not enough puppetry and there's not enough film and TV, but if I want both those things, I could go to Los Angeles, because I had been in Sacramento, and I was like, oh, I like the weather. I like California. I think I could get with it. So I just decided that I was moving. So October of 2015, yeah, I got in my car with my mom, and we moved out here. So I moved out here, and then I was here for like 6 months, and I was trying to work in production. And like, this is the big thing about LA, is it sucks when you first move here. It sucks. There's no getting around it. Everyone will agree with you. And like, all my friends were like, if you can stick it out for 1.5 years, the city will start working for you. But that first 1.5 years, you're going to struggle. You're still going to struggle after the 1.5 years. You're going to struggle for a long time. And it's like, you just keep working and pushing and pushing. So I was getting more PA jobs slowly but surely, and I was building more. And then I went to the Skirball Puppet Fest, which is great, super awesome, highly recommended. And I met my first batch of puppet friends, which was like Jared Ramirez, my friend Nate, Jerry, Rob. I met all these guys there because I followed them on Instagram, and I knew about them, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to be here. So I like paid the money, like $12, and I like went to Skirball, and I like saw them and completely shut down. I had like, because I had never like met other grown puppet people before. It was just something that I liked. It wasn't something that I had like pursued. Yeah. And you know, LA's big and scary, and these guys were having a great time playing with their puppets and like interacting with the kids. And I was like, I can't do this. And I like, at Skirball, I called my mother in tears. It was like, Mom, I can't do this. I don't know how to talk to people. My social anxiety was like through the roof. And my mom was like, you have to make friends. There's no other way for you to survive or to like get anywhere if you don't know anybody. And I was like, oh, you're right. And I like bucked up and like went over to them. And I mean, they were the nicest guys in the world. And they got me into the community. So they like showed me about the slams and the guild. And this was, this was like 3 years ago. And like,
So give me the layout of the puppet landscape in Los Angeles. Like, what are these slams and the guild? Like, because to me, I mean, I just sort of caught wind of this like whole puppet scene. And then I started calling it a puppet scene and people were like, oh, there's a scene. And I was like, it seems like there's a scene, at least from where I am. And I don't even know that much about it. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this series on it. Right. So yeah, give me the lay of the land.
There's a big scene. I mean, you know, the Jim Henson Creature Shop is here. The Kyoto Brothers are here. Swazzle's here. There's all these big companies that, like puppet companies that are here that have really built, Stan Winston's here, that they've built this like community. And then we also have the Guild. It's been around for decades and decades. So there is a scene. I mean, there's people doing live theaters and performances, a lot of stuff at like Cal Arts. They used to have the puppetry program. And then there's the film and TV scene because everything's filmed and shot here in New York or sometimes Atlanta, but a lot of it's here. So there's a whole professional community of puppeteers and builders and wranglers. And then there's also just people who are really into it. And like, that's just you, because you just see it, you know, you drive down La Brea and you see Kermit in his little Charlie Chaplin outfit. It's just, there's an imprint here and there's a community for it because there's so many creative minds here, and puppetry allows for it's such an open world for people that everyone can kind of find a place within the community, because there's always, you know, some people are into shadow puppetry, some people are into marionette, some people are into Muppet style, some people are into like this and that and what other thing. And it's all here, because I mean, that's Los Angeles. If you like it, it's here. You'll find it. You just got to do a little bit of digging and the community will emerge. So, and the thing is that there's a large, like older generation of puppeteers. They were all the marionettists and they did the school tours and they traveled around. You know, there's Bob Baker and Renee and all of these people who created these fantastical marionette puppets. And now it's moved on to where a lot of the TV puppetry is a thing. You know, Jim Henson came along, and now there's this whole new generation of kids like us in like, you know, like late 20s, early 30s that are rediscovering this world and are really embracing it as a way to express, you know, what you're feeling and all that kind of stuff. That's why Bob Baker's been so great. The Bob Baker Marionette Theater has really rebuilt what it is to build a community, and they just moved to Highland Park, and Highland Park seems to be so ready to embrace them, and they're so ready for something like that, and there's just a perfect storm for them. So they've really helped flourish, and really they're helping nurse a whole new generation of new puppet folks, which is what we need desperately. Yeah. So it's great. So there's a huge scene. Be a part of it. Join us.
Why did Cal Arts stop its puppet program?
You know, I don't know. That's a bad question because I really don't know.
Yeah. Don't like hearing about that.
I wish it did.
So describe some of the work you get now and your current job, which is also very exciting.
Right. So my life honestly turned around in March of this year. So it's like incredibly fresh and new. So like I was like working as a production assistant on a murder docuseries, and it was really upsetting because you're like, oh, you're talking to like family members that had family members murdered, and you're like, oh no. And then I got a call that night from Swazzle because I had worked with them 2 years before because I stage managed show of The Little Prince for them. So they knew me through that because I helped tour manage the show. We traveled around. It was great. And they called me. They're like, hey, we have a build. We know you build. You want to come in? We'll help you out. Like, we'll kind of guide you through the process. That next level stuff that everyone dreams of. Wow. So Swazzle kind of swooped me up because they're great guys. And they've taught me, they started teaching me what they knew. We did this crazy build where we built 110 little puppets. And it's crazy. So now, and they've been growing and growing and growing in an amazing way and at an amazing rate. So I've been able to stay with them, and we've been kind of going from build to build to build. And they brought back Crank Yankers, and they reached out to...
Wait, what do you mean they brought it back?
Oh, so Crank Yankers was from the early 2000s. It's a show, it had like 4 seasons, and it's Jimmy Kimmel creation. It's a prank TV show where they prank call actual people. They actually call people and actually prank people. And in this day and age, they can still prank people, and actually trick people, which is insane.
And then people pick up their phone.
Yeah, right? Well, they call businesses, so it's people who can't escape. It's people who are obligated to answer the phone.
Got it.
And then they use puppets to reenact these funny phone calls. So they get like a lot of like modern comedians and really popular comedians to call these people. And so they brought that back.
So Swazzle was involved in bringing that back, though.
Swazzle was not. Comedy Central actually, they like went to their people apparently, and they were like, what show do you miss? What should we bring back? And I guess across the board, everybody was like, we miss Crank Yankers. And they were like, great. So they like went to the Jimmy Kimmel's group and was like, hey, you want to do the show again? And they were like, sure. So they brought it back, and the Swazzle Brothers had been working on Kidding. And so...
Yeah, which I just saw some episodes of.
Yeah, exactly. So John Kimmel or whoever went to Kidding's people and said, who built your puppets? And they're like, or he went to Michel Gondry himself or something. And he was like, oh yeah, you want the Swazzle guys. They build great puppets. And they were like, okay. So Swazzle got the build through that. Right. So it was great and awesome. And I was there. So they were like, you want to do the build? And I was like, sure. And
so you've worked on both Kidding and Crank Yankers now.
Yeah, I snuck my way into building some Kidding things. Because, I mean, if you're there, you're available and you're like, hey, I've done some downtime. They're like, okay, work on that thing. And you're like, great. Yeah. Yes, I will. So through working on Crank Yankers with them, and building with them, I got to know the puppet captain, Victor Yared, and like all the great puppeteers. And when they were crewing up, I was like, hey, so... I like the idea, because I'd heard of puppet wrangling and I'd done it a little bit in very like casual situations. And I was like, I really want to pursue this as a thing. Who do I talk to? And they were like, you should probably just talk to Victor. He's the puppet captain. Talk to him. And I was like, okay. So I like went to him on like Facebook Messenger because I didn't know where else to go. And I like hit him up and was like, hi, Victor. We've met before. Also, start off, I don't want to be a puppeteer. That's not why I'm asking. I want to ask about being a puppet wrangler. And what do I do? And is it already a filled position? He was like, oh no, we haven't done that part yet. Yeah, I'll put your name in the pot. We'll see what happens. And I was like, that would be great. Thanks. So almost all the things I've gotten have been through like cold emails.
Really?
They've actually worked, which is insane to me.
How is that possible?
With Swazzle, I cold emailed them.
Wow. They do write back.
They do write back. They do. But it's, but yeah, I went to a puppetry intensive called the Humber College Puppetry Intensive up in Toronto. I did that for 2 weeks. Wow. And it was great and it was awesome. And like when I got back, I was like, I wonder what it's like to be a real puppet company. And I had known of Swazzle, I'd heard of them. So I like cold emailed them and said, hi, I'm a builder. I'm getting started. I want to get better. I want to see what a shop looks like. Can I come see your shop? Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, sure. Bring your puppets. And I was like, okay. So I like cold emailed them and then it worked. And then 2 years later, I'm working for them full time, when I can. So I did that with them. And then I did it with Victor. I cold messaged him, it's just.
Who's Victor?
And Victor is the puppet captain of Crank Yankers. Okay. And super talented puppeteer. He worked on Dark Crystal, crazy talented, super nice guy. I mean, they're all super nice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's insane how that works. Yeah. It's actually worked.
Good for you. So Jared did say that he felt like we were in the middle of a puppet renaissance. Do you agree?
Highly, highly agree. I do. There's just show after show after show that's being greenlit. And it's like, there's 3 different puppet projects going on right now when last year there was nothing. Yeah. So I like to think that puppetry is cyclical. It's kind of like theater. I think that when the world around us isn't in the best place, people turn to puppetry. People turn to that thing that should be an easy escape, that thing that brings them joy and reminds them of childhood and easier days. And also puppets have a way of talking to people in a way that I think that one-on-one people can't do. Because people innately want to understand the puppet and people innately project themselves onto them. So I think it's easier. So I think that in these times, the times that we're in now, I think the puppets speak to people a lot because they want that sort of escapism and what have you that comes with puppetry that, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, which sounds
No, you're being very articulate. I wonder if you can elaborate any more on kind of like what is that like magic of what makes puppets so intriguing and entertaining.
It's so hard to explain because it's like there's like that. I guess whenever I see really good puppet theater, I just get this like gut feeling in my tummy, and where you look at the puppet and you empathize with this thing, and it doesn't necessarily have a moving mouth or even a face. You just see this existence, and you want to understand it, and you want to be a part of it in a way that doesn't happen because people come with certain prerequisites. Certain things about the human nature and the human body and how humans interact, but puppets are a completely new avenue because they are dependent on someone else to work. They could be a monster. They could be a gazelle. They could be like a human type puppet. They could be anything. And so I think people innately are attracted to those endless possibilities and what they could mean for that creature and in turn for them. It sounds really strange, but it's a weird energy that comes from it that people innately want.
Yeah.
They want that, and they want to understand it, and they want to like connect with it. Yeah. Where I think it's harder when it's other people in a way.
How many puppets do you think you've made?
Oh boy. So there was that one puppet build where we built 110 puppets. I had my hands on at least, well, I built all the heads. So, gosh, so I guess I'll include like 80 of those because I feel like it's unfair to say that I did not build all of them. There was an army of 6 people at the end because we also built those things in like 3 weeks. It was not right, but we did it. We did it. Gosh, so at this point, especially with Swazzle and with my own work, I've probably built around like 95 to 100, including the little guys. Not including the little guys, probably like 15.
So, and what's your style of puppet that you like to build best?
I'm really niche about it, and I really only do Muppet style. I've built a marionette before. I did the Eugene O'Neill puppetry conference last year, which was mind-boggling and amazing, but I built that marionette, but I haven't built one since. But yeah, I've really, because commercial work is where most of the money is. Yeah. So it's what I've gotten good at, and it requires foam work and a lot of sewing, and I like to sew. Mm-hmm. So it feeds both needs, I think, of hardware and fuzzy fluff.
And so what's your favorite puppet?
Ooh, I've got crowd favorite. I have this little purple vampire named Snaggle that everybody loves. He's got these huge, big, googly eyes, and he's like the 3rd puppet I ever built, and I love him. I cherish him a lot. I've gotten like commissioned like art with me and him together. Like, he's very precious to me. And I drew him for an Inktober when I was moving out here. So we moved out in October. Yeah. So they had like vampire, and I was like, cool. So I drew a cute little vampire, and then like I was here in LA jobless and was like, well, what do I do? And I was like, well, I should build a new puppet. I just built one, I'll build another. So I looked and I was like, oh, I like him. I built him, and now everybody is in love with this little guy. Aww. So he's probably, Snaggle is hands down my favorite. Don't tell her.
So have you done full shows with any of your puppets?
Actually I have not. I have large anxiety when it comes to performance.
What?
I know. That's why I like to build.
Animated.
I know, right? I know. I like to build them, and then I like to hand them off and say, make it do the thing. So I've actually.
But I mean, even your voice, you're like so on the verge of performing. Like, how is it? I mean, this is really just a matter of time, I'm imagining.
I hope. I mean, one day I'll get the confidence to be like, I can write a show, but one day, who knows? I would do a slam piece one day.
I mean, you could also just do it right for video.
I should, and I keep telling myself that I should. TikTok is really taking off, and there are puppet characters.
What's
TikTok is that app that all the young kids are doing. And it's like an audio clip thing. So like kids and people and grown-ups will just take audio clips and like do their own thing to them. So it's just this big mind meld of different jokes and trends and things and this and that, but there are certain puppets that are jumping in on this, and they're getting so popular. Like Grant Pachoko's got this great puppet named Toily. He's a toilet paper roll. He's hilarious. But this puppet has over like 600 or 700,000 followers on this app because he's clever, he knows how to stay on trend, and he knows how to be funny. Yeah. He's got this whole band of like different toilet-themed characters now that are great. He's got like a toilet brush, he's got a paper towel roll, he's got toothpaste, or not paper towel roll, toothpaste. But they've got like these guys, got these great characters, and he's really blown up in a way that is unexpected. So it's out there, so it's even possible to do it on your own, but I have not had the confidence yet.
Yeah.
Slowly.
I'm sure it's coming.
Let's hope.
That was how I got into performing, was doing a puppet show. Yeah. I was morbidly shy, and I could not do it. Like it was the gateway drug.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
It's like I've always had vocal trouble, so I've always had problems using my voice just because I had pre-nodules in high school. So because of that, I've always been very wary of my voice, and I've never really gained that confidence back. And also, like, I am missing like a portion of like my like range. It's like a little bit of it's like a little scratchy, and so I think because of that, I'm just like, oh, it's okay, I just won't. It's fine.
No, that makes your voice more unique.
There you go. Yeah, I have a rasp that will never go away.
So how did you come to be the president of the guild?
Well, I was on the board for 2 years as a director at large because I got involved with the community through the Puppet Slams. Actually, I met Christine Paplexis, who is a great lady. I love her. And I like went up to her during a Puppet Slam and was like, do you need help? Like, I have a theater background and stuff, and I like ran the concession. So I like met her and then just ran concessions. And so through that, I got more involved with the guild and like guild members, and everyone was like, you should be on the board. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Being the overachiever that I am, I was like, sure. So I went for it and got on the board, you know, because you have to be elected in. So I actually got voted for, which was cool. It felt nice. Yeah. And then I was in it for 2 years, and then the time came for our president to step down, and everyone was kind of like discussing who wanted to do what and this and that. And like I had kind of been thinking about it, but I also was like, I've only been on the board for 2 years. I don't know if this is right yet. But the president was like, I'm going to step down. It's time. And then so everyone looked at the VP, and he was like, I'm president of the P of A. I can't do both. And so then everyone just like looked at me, and I was like, I guess I'm running.
So process of elimination.
Process of elimination. Yeah, exactly.
For a bunch of free work.
Yeah, there's a lot of volunteer work involved. Yeah, like, don't say we don't work hard, but so I'm like honored, and you know, it's amazing to carry on a legacy that is such an integral part of like the LA history of puppetry. It really is. So it's a, you know, heavy wears the crown, or whatever that saying is. Heavy is the crown. I don't know. But it's a lot, but it feels good to be able to give back, because like I wouldn't be here without the guild and without the people involved in the guild pushing me along and saying, you should try this, you should try that. If I didn't have those people, I wouldn't be doing what I want to do. Because I feel like there's just not enough of that. There's not enough of that in LA. People don't know how to push each other along because everyone's so obsessed with what they're doing, because I mean there's just not enough brain space, there's not enough days in the week, there's not enough hours in the day. So it's the puppet community is great in that way that we do push each other, but we do it in a way that we want everyone to lift up. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that burn, and I'm like, I want to bring people up, and I want to bring the community up, because like, you know, Jared said, it's a renaissance, you know, like we're blasting forward, and I'm like, I want to be at the front. I want the guild to help be at the front and help push everybody forward, because the train's taking off. It's just who's going to get on the train at this point.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, you're like an ambassador for
basically, yeah.
this art form. It's really great.
It's very strange. It's a weird place. It's a weird place to be in, because I like meet people and I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Rachel. And they're like, oh, hi. I'm like, hi, I'm the president of the guild. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that means something. That's weird.
It's like you need a Grand Poobah hat, or like some sort of like embroidered sash, I guess.
Right? When I got inducted, I got a crown and a scepter. I should bring my scepter places.
You definitely should.
I've tucked it away so I can give it to the next president.
Yeah.
But I should whip it out more often.
So, without, you know, at the risk of alienating any of your current employers, what are your top 3 favorite puppet pieces in the world?
Oh boy, like that I've worked on or just in general?
In general, like your most influential.
Oh man, that's so tough. Most influential. You know, one of the weird ones is that like my family, like we grew up with Sesame Street enough, but it was more of like a casual thing. We weren't an obsessive family. And same with like Muppet stuff. Like I love the Muppet movie, but I was terrified of Animal when he got big. Terrified. And he was my nickname when I was a kid. So it was, you know. But we have this VHS of Hey Cinderella, which was a little storybook thing that the Jim Henson Company did for a little bit. They did The Frog Prince, and then they did Hey Cinderella, and maybe one other one. I don't remember. But Hey Cinderella was this great little short of like Cinderella, and they had these great characters, and Kermit showed up, and like they had this dog named Rufus, and I loved him so much because he talked in whispers, and I loved him. And so Rufus is probably a big part of that. Probably him. Oh, this is tough. Now I have to think what puppet things I like. I mean, Labyrinth, a guarantee. Labyrinth, because I discovered that in college, and I watched it like twice a week for like 2 months straight. I knew that movie verbatim because it was so good and so interesting, and the puppets were amazing, and like the helping hands is my favorite scene where she falls down the tunnel and all the hands make the shapes and like I've worked on Puppet Up, and the ending song of Puppet Up, they're like, oh, we know what you came for. It's naked puppets. And then it's their hands pop up, and they sing the closing song with just their hands because, naked puppets. And I love that sort of puppetry. It's so fascinating to me. And then the last one probably would be when I was at the Humber College Puppetry Intensive. We looked at different clips, and we were kind of discussing like, what can be puppetry and what is puppetry. And we showed a clip. I think it's this group called Plastique. I think they're French Canadian. Don't quote me. But they do this act where they're trash bags. It's black light. There's orange trash bags. They scuttle about, and then they just eat everything. There's just these trash bags just going around eating stuff. And it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it's just 2 trash bags eating stuff up on stage. And you're like, this is so interesting. It's out of the box. It's a normal, ordinary, like daily object. And they've completely turned it on its head. And it's so much fun to watch. So I think that was an important turning point for me. Because I was like, oh, puppets can be, if as long as you give something purpose, it can be a puppet, basically. Yeah. And I was like, that's really cool doings. So that last one's probably the big one.
That sounds amazing. So any sort of hopes and dreams for both your own career and maybe for the Guild or the community at large?
Gosh, I mean, for the Guild, I'm hoping that we can really reintroduce ourselves and replant ourselves within the LA community at large. Because we've done that, and we do exist in this space, but I think that we haven't been able to find our groove in this new modern age. And we're relearning, we're learning how to use the internet to our advantage, and we're learning how to use like Facebook and social media and all these things. So I think that the big thing for us will be how to be more accessible to, because a lot of people, and nationally, people look to the Guild's Facebook page for the fun puppet news, because we try our best to keep everyone up to date, being like, Sesame Street's doing that, this show's doing this, look at this cool funny performance from Europe. Like, we try to keep people in the loop. So I think making puppets as accessible as possible, because back in the day, everyone kept their secrets, but now there's no secrets to be had. Everybody wants to share information, and like, why not be that hub? Why not be that thing that pushes out and says, hey, learn about this, learn about that. Puppetry is like more than this. It's more than that. It can be anything you want, as long as you go at it with a purposeful way and like with something to say. You can really like turn things on their head, I think. So accessibility, that's my goal for the Guild. That's what I want. I want people to be able to like put something into the Guild and get something out of it. Because the board does a lot of work on our own. Because, we're the board. It's what we do.
Yeah.
So also trying to empower our Guild members to want to help us do more things. Help us figure out workshops, help us figure out events, help us do that sort of thing. Because, with we need everyone to be as strong as we can. So that's kind of the other big mission, is just to, let's do more things and let's get more people in it. The good word of puppets. Spread the word, you know?
And what about for your own personal career?
Oh boy. I mean, I guess for myself, it's just to keep this train going. Like I just started working professionally back in March, you know, and I'm the president of the guild. I just started doing this professionally, and I just turned 28. So it's like, amazing. It's coming. Things are doing and things are going. So now it's kind of, how do I ride this, and how do I maneuver and navigate in a way that I can get the next job and I can do the next things. I mean, I've been freelance since I graduated college. I worked at a coffee shop for 6 months once. But beyond that, I've always been freelance. So, you know, it's the suffering of the moment you get the job, well, then you look for the next job. So it's climbing that ladder, and like, I've been working on Crank Yankers, and blessed be that it's been filming from June to December. Amazing. But like, you know, for me, I'm like, wow, that's so long. And like, people who need more stability are like, that's really short. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is half a year of work. This is awesome. How cool is that? So yeah, I guess it's just climbing the ladder and just getting to do more and more puppetry work. And I guess finding a better home, or not a better home per se, but a home within the community that I like the most. Because like, I like wrangling a lot. I love building and I like wrangling a lot, but wrangling's not a super popular job. So I'm like, I'll get good at that. Because, you know, do the thing that no one else wants to do, because then you get to do more things.
That's true. That's true for right now, until you become really good at all the other things.
There you go, right.
I mean, it seems like the rate you're going, that's like going to be quick.
I will Icarus right out of here.
Okay, let me ask you specifically, at what point you were like, I'm going after a career in puppetry?
I think I was in LA at this point, because I was kind of juggling the film production stuff, and I was juggling building puppets. And I know what it was. I know the exact moment. So I had moved here for a few months. I'd been kind of working in film and TV and all that, and it paid the bills, but I was like wanting to build, and I was just feeling so down one day. You know, the LA slums. We all know. If you live here, we all know it's a deep dark place. Yes. And I was having a really special bad day, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I'm here. I signed a lease for a year. I'm here. What am I going to do? It's been 3 months and I feel like I'm dying. And I was like, Rachel, you live in the same city as the Jim Henson Company and you still haven't seen it. Go look at it. So I like went down to my car, got my car, I like drove down, put it in the GPS, showed up, you know, I went to La Brea, and I parked on the opposite side of the street of the La Brea building, and I looked at the Kermit in the Charlie Chaplin outfit, and I like stared at him. I like put like 75 cents in like the meter, and I just walked up and down the lot outside like a crazy woman. And I like stared at the gate, I stared through the gate. I saw people like moseying about, and I watched them, and I like looked at that Kermit, and I was like, I want to be in there so bad. I would do anything to get back there. My thing was, I want to see the back of Kermit. That's what I want, because that means I've made it inside. Right. And then that happened like 2 years later. How? It was so I worked on The Little Prince with.
Okay, wait. So wait, you went home. Okay, so you just paced outside of the studio.
They didn't let me in. I didn't try to go inside. I didn't try to trespass. I promise. This was like, I like made this like made this promise to myself that I would get inside one day. Okay. Not by illegal means, by true means. So I went home and, lived my life for 2 years. And then I worked on Swazzle's production of The Little Prince. And our production manager works with the Jim Henson Company. He works with them on and off. He works with them on Puppet Up. And so the Carol Spinney benefit happened. Carol Spinney, Big Bird, the man who created Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, that guy, big important guy. They're doing a benefit for him in LA. And so the production manager, Cameron, called me and was like, hey, you worked on that Little Prince thing. Oh, I liked what you did. Come work on this with us. It's on the Jim Henson lot. it's pro bono, but it's a benefit. You want to come? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Wow.
So that's how I got in, because I worked the job that got me connected with the person that got me, to the thing, to do the thing. Wow. So I did the series of events, and I got to go, and I like drove up, and I like went to like the parking area, and like the little gate guy was like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Rachel Burson." He was like, "Okay, you're good." And like the Jim Henson gate like opens, like the back gate, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm going inside." And I like drive in, and I parked, and I got there like a half hour early because I was so scared of being late. And I like called my mother. I call my mom a lot. Call your mothers. It's helpful. So I like called my mom in tears. I was like, "Mom, I don't know what I'm supposed to do." She's like, "You gotta go inside." And I was like, "Mom, I'm so scared to go inside." So I like got all my gumption. I did. And I saw somebody going in, and I was like, "I'm going to follow behind them. Like I belong here," because I do belong here. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. So I like follow this guy, and you're immediately greeted by like one of the dinosaurs from the Flintstones. Oh my God. And I was like, "Oh God, it's a dinosaur from the Flintstones." And then like, you see the like, there's like a Kermit statue like sticking out of a building and this and that. And I was like walking in, like, it's the Charlie Chaplin lot. Wow. That's where it is. That's why Kermit dresses Charlie Chaplin. Amazing. So like the lot that you go into to work is the Charlie Chaplin like soundstage. So I'm like getting ready to go in there, and I like look to my right, and like there's the back of Kermit.
And you're like, yes.
And I was like, "Oh!" And I took like 1,000 photos, and I'm like trying to not like have a total sobbing breakdown while I meet all these new people, and they're like ushering in the Sesame Street puppets because it was a benefit for Spinny, and I'm like trying to keep it together. That was amazing. The best way to get behind Kermit.
That's an amazing story, and I can't say I'd act much differently because I will say that. Yeah, the Muppet Show is why I'm in show business, for sure.
That's so great.
Yeah, most of my dreams look like the backstage, like when Kermit's like all going crazy, and like that's what most of my dreams are like, is like the backstage of a theater, just like that.
Sounds ideal. I completely agree with you. Live theater always will have my heart. Yeah. I love film and TV just fine, but like live theater, I will always do live theater. Always.
Yeah. Well, you're on the verge of doing your own puppet show. It sounds like it's like all right on the tipping point is almost here. Great. Well, this was so great talking to you. I can't thank you enough for squeezing me in. I know you're so busy this week, so thank you.
No, it's fine. Thanks so much for having me. This is so kind. I really appreciate it. It's very flattering and overwhelming.
How can people find out more about the Puppet Guild and about your work and what's coming up?
So for the Guild, it is the Los Angeles Guild of Puppetry.org. We also have the Instagram, LA Puppetry, and we have our Facebook group, Los Angeles Guild of Puppetry. So find us, join us. We're not expensive, and anybody can join. Like I said, like you can tick the little boxes. We've got builder, puppeteer, we've got enthusiast, we've got all kinds of different types. So like, come join us, come be with us. And because then you get a special e-blast. So you get to learn about like job postings and different events going on. And like, if we get discounts for things, then we'll put that all in the e-blast. So there's benefit to joining. We promise. It's super fun. You get a good puppet life, which is like a cool magazine. We do nice things. And then for me personally, you can go to my website, which is rachelmadestudio.com, or you can do my Instagram, which is rachelmadestudio. It's Rachel, Rachel. But that's really all I do. I wish I did more, but I don't.
You're doing plenty.
Thank you. And Instagram's pretty pictures, and I'm like, puppet is all visual, so it's fine, right? I can just do Instagram, right?
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Let me know what you think. You can always drop me a line through the website at vivalarenaissance.net or on Instagram at Viva La Renaissance Podcast. Be sure to follow me over there and consider making a donation to the podcast on the website or joining me on Patreon. Don't forget to share, follow, and like Viva La Renaissance all over the place because I need your help growing this little project and to keep bringing you these golden nuggets all these journeys we take into the lives of professional artists together. And if you are getting something out of this, think about supporting any way that makes sense to you. We could even make up our own Patreon rewards. We can be creative. Be sure to tune in next time for the culminating episode in the LA Puppet People mini-series. And in the meantime, keep it weird.